to another episode of Questions with Crocker with me, Dr. Crocker, my husband, Shane, and...
I'm here.
You're here. Don't talk in the top of the microphone. That's literally what he just told us.
They said get it close to my face.
Stop trying to get fired from this podcast. So we are here with Dr. Emily King. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
And if you're watching on YouTube, we're actually in a completely different setup. We are in a hotel room, which is not as creepy as it sounds.
It's a little sketchy.
It does sound kind of sketchy.
It's a little sketchy.
So we are at Western Veterinary Conference in Vegas, and I thought it would be great to interview people in person because it's just so much better to see them interact. We had a great dinner the other night. So I'm really excited to pick your brain as a fellow practice owner, mom, veterinarian, doing a million different things, a podcast included.
Mm-hmm.
Is it weird not hosting?
Yes, it's very strange.
At some point, are you going to like grab the mic?
I know, exactly.
Just take
You're
over.
like, all right, now to my questions.
That's
It is. It's strange being on the other side of the fence. Yeah.
Well, and you do a lot of really fun things. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
So the podcast is called the Veterinary Roundtable. I do it with another associate that's at the clinic that we work at, and then two staff members that are there as well. And so we kind of go through cases. We do some icebreakers, just, trying to bring back some fun,
Yeah.
to the veterinary community. And so we approach questions coming from different people in the industry, maybe challenges that they're faced with, different information that they want to learn about, and we answer those questions and kind of give them a shout out. And so it's been a lot of fun.
I love how inclusive it is. I love that it's veterinarians and assistants and it's technicians. And so you get all the different perspectives,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is great. I have Shane on here to give us
I give you a lot of perspective.
He does something. We don't know. No.
Right.
But he is really good about kind of bringing that non-veterinary perspective, which I think sometimes we forget about when we're in our bubble, about how things come across sometimes, or maybe the pet owner perspective, which we don't always like to think about because it's easier to think about our needs and our wants. And so I like having, all the thoughts, but especially when you get like Devin on there and y'all
Mm-hmm.
are talking about making her do crazy things for reviews.
Yes. They're good sports. That's for sure.
Yes, they are. And I think that lends itself to your culture, which we're going to get into. But using social media, using podcasts to show that you actually have fun together as a clinic is really, really important, and showing that, and that it doesn't have to be this idea of professionalism that I think a lot of us have had. So that's a whole nother route that I wasn't even going to go down, but just wanted to give you kudos while I had a chance.
Thank you. I appreciate that. They work really hard at that every day. So
Well, I came up with some questions. Our podcast is based around questions that people submit to us. And I felt like you and I were very similar. And so a lot of the questions I get, I kind of wanted to pick your brain about too.
Okay.
But icebreakers are always a good thing to start with. So I heard you're a little bit of a golfer.
Yes.
Shane is a little bit of a golfer. So I just want you guys to like if you played each other, who do we think would win? And
Do I
what
get
are your
strokes?
Yeah, me too. I want to know, like, are we hitting longest ball, or like how's it going to work? Do we have details on
it's
the
straight up playing? You both can tee off from like the same tee, I guess. Is that am I saying this correctly?
No, because then he gets to tee off at the women's team.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
He gets to tee off at the professional team.
He's at the very back.
The white tees, maybe.
Yeah,
Which
you're the
one? I can't
closest.
remember. Okay.
So I want to know in general, like, do y'all know is it the handicap? Am I saying that right?
I have a handicap, yes.
I do not. I do not play often enough to have figured that out.
Okay. So potentially you could beat her.
Yes.
If we're playing how many golf balls we lost, I would win that
Okay.
every time.
I don't know. I'm pretty good at losing the balls too. And I'm at the point now where I'll play with bad balls so that I don't have to go find them.
So you just lose them.
Yeah.
And you just expect it.
Exactly.
Oh, I like that philosophy.
Yes.
So are you more like I go to just have fun and get exercise, but it's not super intense?
Correct.
Okay.
Because, with the boys, it's something good to be able to do. My dad taught me how to play golf when I was like 7. So, and being busy and, over the past however many years, 26 years, however long, I just haven't had an opportunity to just like play and play and play and play. But learning so young was really helpful because I didn't have any bad habits. So I can pick up a club now and go out and swing and hit and, and do just fine. My short game's not the best because that takes a lot of practice. But
I I learned how to play golf from my dad, and he was like the ultimate networker. So that's definitely where I got it from. But he used to tell me, you don't want to be one of those girls that just like rides in the cart. Like you want to be able to play.
Right.
And that has actually served me so well in life. Like, cause I can go to networking events, I can go to things and I'll be like, yeah, I can play. And they're like, what?
What?
And I'm like, this is like, I mean, at this point in time, a lot of women play golf. It should be shocking.
Shouldn't be right, exactly. It shouldn't be that much of a surprise.
But it is nice. And even for us, it's nice for us to go. And Shane actually takes our kids, which is always interesting.
That is very interesting.
But you basically don't play then at that point when you're taking the kids, right?
Just making sure nobody dies.
Right, exactly. Nobody steps in front of the ball.
Yeah.
See, but it's going to serve us well that you take our daughter to play golf and then look what she could grow up to do and be. Like, practice owner, independent woman extraordinaire.
That's true.
You never know.
Take it.
All right. I like it. So we're all going to have to play sometime in the future.
Yes, I would love that.
I think that'd be fun. I think I could win, but that's okay.
You probably could.
No lack of confidence.
No. I'll let you have that one. That's fine.
Okay. My next question is, what is your surgery suite music of choice?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, see, you're talking my language now because I have the saying that music is magic. So I love music, and music I think can change an environment.
Yeah.
So it depends on what I'm trying to accomplish in surgery.
I feel that.
So if I'm doing orthopedics, it's a lot of Hall & Oates. I really like Hall & Oates. So,
you got to give us a little example.
We need gosh. I don't know if I can. Now that's pressure. I don't know if I can come up with like something off the top of my head.
Okay.
So yeah,
all the millennials are gonna like, or the
80s jams totally, and the girls all they're like, oh, here we go.
Yes.
And so yeah, Spotify, Hall & Oates, that's always awesome during orthopedics. And then if I have to like really concentrate, like where I don't want to be disturbed, kind of a thing, then I'm going with like island jams.
Okay. Just like kind of peaceful.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
What about you? What do you listen to?
So I actually have two things I do for surgery. I have different scrub caps.
Okay.
So I have like a cat one. I have a dog one, and those are my basic. But then when it's a hard surgery, I have a dinosaur one.
Okay.
So when it's like going to be that like intense surgery, I'm like, put the dinosaur.
Put the dinosaur.
Yeah. And the team knows like this is
it.
I'm a little nervous about this one. I need my
this
like
is the most
superhero.
ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
It is. No, it's true. It's like there's psychology behind this. So I think your brain goes to
like
a different
rally
place.
Cap or something. Bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm rallying for the pet. I'm
Yes.
saving the pet. Come
Exactly.
on now. Didn't you played baseball growing up? You had to have some weird superstitions that you did that.
Yeah, it's playing baseball.
How is that different than saving lives? And
That's much different than saving lives. Yes.
right.
I'm just trying not to strike out.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll discuss that further later. But music wise, I let my team pick a lot of times because I feel like when the person running anesthesia is happy, then everything goes better. Have you seen the research study that says something about noise in the surgery suite and it's related to infection? No.
Yes, it totally threw me for like a loop because I was like, you got to be kidding me, because I love music in the surgery room. And so I don't think it's just music. I think it's like basically
all the noises.
Yes, like commotion.
Okay.
Because then maybe people aren't paying attention, and so then you have higher risk stuff happening and everything.
I mean, I hope that's the case because I would be so bored if we didn't have music on in surgery. I do have one employee who's a Swiftie. So occasionally we have to like reset her expectations of how much Taylor Swift will be happening in the surgery suite. But other than that, and she also didn't know who Garth Brooks was, which and George Strait.
Oh, okay. And that's equally as bad probably. But.
I mean, I had to rethink my interview technique. I was like, I got to add that to a question. Do you know who George Strait is? Can you name it?
Probably some HR compliance that you can't ask that.
Maybe. But you're HR and we're married.
No, I'm not HR. I give that title up. I'm out.
That's totally fine.
We
can totally say that.
You do HR.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so that actually leads me into my first question. Because we own a practice. It's only been almost 2 years. Shane helps me immensely with the finance side of things. He's definitely not HR. But you own your practice with your husband.
Yes,
correct?
We did. Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about that, because one of the top questions I get is, how do you work Taylor's family? And in this room, your son is in here too.
Correct.
He is the owner of King Media, amazing social media production company. So you guys work together. You work with your husband. how did you make it work all those years?
That's a great question because that is something that people often ask, and especially people that are interviewing at the practice, because there's a lot of cray out there, like family crazy out there.
Yes.
And like, for whatever reason, veterinary clinics allow family crazy into their veterinary clinics. And it's like, why? So I get why people ask about it. I can't imagine not having worked with Richie. He is, he was so wonderful at allowing me to be what I needed to be in order for the clinic to be successful. So, and we were really good about, mostly because I'm lazy, really good about staying in our lanes. So, like I wanted nothing to do with the money. I just wanted to know where and when I could spend it.
Let's talk about that one more time. You stay in your swim lane at all times.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out the obvious.
Yes.
Just recapping. Go ahead.
Okay,
Sorry.
But
yes.
did you also
Good point,
hear he also told her when like they could spend money? Very similar.
Never heard anything about money yet.
Very similar.
Yes. So, I was really good and am still really good at spending money. So, that's yeah, exactly. So he was always really good about, we really need this piece of equipment. So the joke at the clinic is, well, what's the ROI on the piece of equipment? And so we'd have to go through and figure out so we started coming to him with just the ROI. Like, eventually we were like, all right,
good call.
Here's the ROI on this piece of equipment.
Wait, let me tell you my trick.
Okay.
So I wanted to do a microscope, right? Okay. And I took him to a conference and I took him over and I'm like, this microscope is amazing. It's like $15,000. And he's like, and I'm like, but there might be other options, and I'd already scoped them all out. Right. So then we go to another booth and I'm like, there's this one and it would probably work pretty well. And it's like $1,600. And he's like, yeah, that's the one. And I'm like,
yes, yes, I've used that technique before. Good job. Yes. Yeah. Oversell so you can get the thing.
Yes.
Under. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this
That's
is great.
a good technique.
After 17 years, this is not a trick. I feel like I'm playing you, actually. I know that just wipe this one away because a cheaper one's coming.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that hurts my heart because I thought I was
I know.
Okay, so you guys each stayed in your swim lanes.
Yep.
And you obviously kind of defined what those were going to be from the beginning. I'm sure along the way there was moments where you each had to remind each other.
Oh, absolutely.
Of what was happening. But ultimately you had the same goals, the same vision.
Yes.
And I agree with you. I could not do this without him. Was there anybody else instrumental to the team in the beginning, like leadership wise, or that you brought on board that helped kind of make it happen?
Yeah. I mean, I had a technician that started when she graduated from Purdue University. Her name was Kayla Biddles, and she started and then evolved into a practice management role. And she had a lot of grace with me from the standpoint of kept pushing me to evolve. And, sometimes, you're so busy being a veterinarian. And I think that was one of the things that we made sure that we did from the very beginning was we tried not to wear too many hats. And I think veterinarians are really they just dig their heels in. They want to wear 5 hats. And, again, because of my laziness, I was like, nope, really only hat I'm wearing is just veterinary medicine. That's all I'm doing. Don't ask me to do anything else, because I didn't think I would be very good at it, but I could be really good at veterinary medicine. And so she came along and really pushed us being goal driven. And really got us into a program called VGP, and which was about setting goals and tracking those and just the evolution of the practice. And that really transformed everything. I remember to this day, I can even remember when she was like, listen, we really need to do this. And I was like, this is going to be so much work.
Yeah.
And I was like, and she just wouldn't let up about it. And so then I was like, all right, let's do it. And that saying yes transformed the whole practice.
I love that. Well, I think being a leader and actually just having the open communication is so important because, the top-down leadership of like, you come up with the ideas, you tell everybody, they implement them. That is so not how things are done anymore. So even the fact that she could come to you and say like, we really need to do this. This is important, and like keep pushing you on it and not feel like I can't give ideas. I can't be a part of the process is a testament to having a good culture in general in a practice. I feel like sometimes I may be too transparent as a leader with like what's going on and the things I'm considering. But every single time I bring the rest of the team into a conversation with, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you guys think? They always have something that's great to add to what I should be considering, how we should implement something, because I have definitely been the person that's like, we're going to do this. And then I just put it in place and it makes everyone's lives harder. Yeah. Like every single person's. And I thought it was going to be the best thing ever. Yeah. Yes. So has there been anything like that along the way that was like really bad ideas that you had or things that didn't work out well?
Oh, I'm sure there's many of them. I've chosen to like let those fall out and only remember. No, I mean, I'm sure there's ideas that, that we've implemented, and then I think the biggest thing really is being able to pivot, right? I mean, so I don't think it's necessarily that ideas are bad or decisions that you make necessarily are bad, as much as what do you do then, when you've implemented something that you think is not of the best policy or the best procedure or the best idea. The goal would be then to pivot. And so I think that's really important. But you touched on something that I think is so valuable that not enough people do in their practices, which is, asking for that meaning from different people. Because I think there's a concept of, if everybody can put their ideas into the pool of meaning, then you're more likely to come up with the best idea. Ultimately, you're left with the indecision, right? I mean, you're the practice owner. So, it falls at your feet. You're going to be the ones that eventually have to make the decision, but you're going to make a better decision if everybody feels comfortable putting in to the pool of meaning. And so I think it's so, so valuable.
It is. And in general, sometimes the things that they say are not things I want to hear or not things I want to consider, but the different perspectives make a team so much stronger and so much better, which is great. Do you feel like you always tell me to not make all the decisions because I don't want to be
a bottleneck?
Yes. Will you explain that philosophy a little bit more? And do I do a good job?
Yes. Absolutely.
I'm asking for
There's
feedback.
No other way for me to answer that question.
Right? Be careful there, Shane. Okay.
No, I think that the main thing is being able to run a practice that has its own living, breathing entity, if you will. So the ability for the practice to grow, succeed, continue to do better without you being the sole decision maker at all the on every decision. I think it adds a lot of value to the practice, and it creates a culture where you can grow. People have responsibility, and you're not limited to the success of you being there at all times.
Well, I think the further you can push decision making down the chain, the more successful you're going to be.
I would agree.
So I think that's a really important concept.
Well,
absolutely.
So what I've struggled with as a practice owner is I try to do that, and then maybe there's something that happens and it's not handled the way I would have handled, or maybe it's a little bit messier because of how it was handled, but the team feels good about it. So how do you just kind of sit back and say like, okay, that happened? Or do you...
sucked.
Do you coach to like, hey, next time...
Well, I think that
I'd prefer this.
So like we talk a lot about our core values. So like all of our decision making, hiring, firing, and then, just your average everyday decision occurs around the core values. So then it's really easy to go have a conversation with somebody. Say they do something that you didn't agree with. I don't know. They gave away whatever, I don't know, something, but they made the decision. If they can always, so what I coach them to do is if they can always relate the decision back to the core value, then they did not make a bad decision.
Okay.
If I wanted them to make a slightly different decision, even though it wasn't necessarily bad, but I'm like, maybe next time do this instead.
Yeah.
Then I say, maybe next time, think about this, and this before you make the decision, which might allow you to make an even better decision than you made today.
I like that.
So
it's still positive reinforcement, but also a little coaching along the way. Do you have core values like written out, or do you have a phrase, or do you have something you say? Like it's corny, but we always say like having fun while helping pets, which is like a very just like how we in general want it to feel at the practice.
Sure. Yeah.
So do you have something like that?
Well, we have our core values are All-Star. So it's an acronym, All-Star. So accommodating, loyal, loving, skilled, timely, atmosphere, and reliable.
Oh, nice.
That's very cool.
So, our phrase is we improve the lives of others. We just so happen to use the vehicle of veterinary medicine to do so. So the objective, everyone knows their objective every day really is to just improve the life of the person in front of them. It could be a drug rep, it could be a client, it could be your fellow worker. But if that's what's on the top of your mind every day, then you're going to be successful.
I love that. And I do. So speaking of All-Star Veterinary Clinic, very successful social media account. That's how I originally discovered you. And then you have your own Dr. Emily King account. But tell me a little bit about deciding to showcase your practice on social media, because there's a lot of practices out there.
And how long have you been doing that as well?
Yeah. And doing it successfully. Because there's a lot of practices
5
out there
years, right?
scared to do it. Like they're scared to kind of pull back the curtain, show their personalities. They're worried about like pet owners getting upset about things, or, people thinking they're silly. And you guys are silly, but you have a good time. And my understanding is it's helped you a lot with hiring and in general. So tell me a little bit about the thought process of starting that.
Well, we could see the value in because Richie, again, was the one going, okay, traditional marketing is kind of going the way of the dodo. So like, what can we do? And so he was trying to do it, and God bless his heart. I mean, it was okay. I mean, for the time,
it wasn't his swim lane.
It wasn't, no. And so then he was like, hey, Harrison, can you help me with this camera? Can you help me videotape this or that? And so then Harrison came on board and actually pitched a business plan to us. So and I never thought any of the boys would work in the practice. So that was really cool.
Because you have how many boys?
5 boys.
Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine. Our 2 kids, like.
That's a solid 4 too many.
We have 2. You can't say that. Okay.
No, that's good. The boys are great. So he pitched a business plan and said, hey, I think that we can, if I come in and I do this, I think that this will be the effect. I think this is the difference that we can make. And so then we were like, okay, let's try it. And so then he came on board and it took off from there. The first objective really was that he came up with was that he wanted people to know us before they knew us. And we thought that would be really valuable because one of the things in veterinary medicine is establishing trust and relationships. And so then really you've already conquered that hurdle before the person ever comes in. And so that was really big for us. So, and then we had some secondary effects that occurred due to social media. So like you mentioned, like finding people, we have like no problem with hiring.
Do you think it helps with retention also? Like, do you think there's some people that enjoy it and it's
absolutely
a part of their job that makes them want to be there?
Absolutely. I think that was another effect that we saw was that it was, our job is like so stressful and there's like so much. I don't know about you, but like people have anxiety and like all these factors.
And I'm just going to put this out there. Like I am not the most empathetic sometimes with things. And so I have a hard time.
That's what's going to make you a good practice owner though too. So.
It's like sometimes I'm like, okay, I can't talk about this anymore. Yeah. And so I would much rather people blow off steam, having fun, laughing, making videos together. And just
so there's a group of them that really enjoy it and they look forward to it. And he'll put out a group me text and say, who wants to be in this video? And then people are like, I'll do it. It's a lot of the same people, but that's how they like spending their time, or that's how, where they find joy.
What's interesting to me is it's a designated person. So a lot of times I'll give talks about social media and, the veterinarian will be like, I don't have time for that.
Yep.
I'm doing you aren't the person that should be doing it. You should hire somebody who is good at it, someone who you're paying appropriately. And then really the advantages are endless. I mean, to hire somebody to help you find veterinarians and pay a recruiter is extravagant.
Yeah. And then instead, the bonuses nowadays.
We can't even
talk about that.
No. Yeah. But instead, if you are intentional about hiring somebody who actually knows what they're doing on social media and can showcase what you're already doing in your practice, I mean, the content is endless. To me, it's a no-brainer. Why do you think so many people in veterinary medicine still have such a hard time with social media as a marketing tool in general?
Well, I mean, veterinarians in general are slow to change, right? So, I mean, it's like so slow. Yes. So I think that's a factor. I think that you brought up the point of them not wanting to be like judged. And you really kind of have to. What I did with Harrison was I participated, but I don't watch any of the
comments and
I don't do any. I just never did any of that. because, I kind of knew what my focus was, which was just to keep practicing good veterinary medicine every day, just keep doing what you're doing, kind of a thing. And so maybe they're worried about what clients are going to think or not think. And you really, he says all the time, like, you just can't worry about what people think. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, it's easy for you to say,
You're not the one out there.
The other side of the, but it can be, just, I was listening to a book today and they were saying, stop focusing on you so you can focus on them. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of what.
We've actually heard that from a couple of veterinarians, that they don't mind putting everything out there, but they don't want to read comments. They don't want to see what's going on behind the scenes. So they have somebody replying and doing that stuff on their behalf.
Yeah, and that's what Harrison did still does for all this time,
Yeah.
It really does help. So to your point, the veterinarian should not be doing it.
No, I agree.
They should just be stand here and say this.
I'm an anomaly just because I already am doing it. But then I also don't work in the practice full time. I own the practice. I run the practice. I manage it. So one of my jobs is marketing for the practice. And I think quicker at it than most because I've just been doing social media a little bit longer. So it's a little different in my case, but a majority of the time they should not be the ones doing it. And they probably have someone already in their practice who could at least start it and do a good job. And then if they really want to do well, and the accounts I see doing great on social media have hired somebody from the outside that is what they do.
And they really need to meet, they really need to meet the consumer where they're at. Mm-hmm. People are not consuming information in print or on TV, or it's all this vertical video stuff. Mm-hmm. And so,
it's cheaper marketing than, putting ads on TV, on their radio, even than printing things. And to me, social media marketing, you have the best ROI, right? From the work you put into it. So it's a no-brainer. But I think if people, we're going and looking at accounts like All-Star Veterinary Clinic, they see it. You can actually see it.
Well, and practice. I think that people also go to All-Star and then they're like, oh, we could never do that. Well, that's not, you don't need to do what we're doing.
Right.
You just need to
be authentic to yourself. Yeah.
Because not everybody's going to be quirky and weird and silly like we are. You might be more serious or, and so I think staying true to yourself is really, really important. And just start. Mm-hmm. That's the case for anything, right? Just start and then it'll evolve.
Yes.
But to just sit there and be like, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm not going to do anything. I don't think that's.
And you're getting so far behind the train now that it's just, it's leaving you. So, okay. So with hiring in general, walk me through your steps of hiring people. I know you said, obviously you have people that want to come work with you, and I have the same thing. And I actually have people that want to work with me that potentially I don't think fit my culture or fit. So what is your protocol when you're in the hiring process?
I removed myself from the hiring process.
Oh, well.
I love that.
I love that.
Because I was really bad at it. Because I'm a...
Why were you bad at it?
Because I see the best in every single person. So I'm like, oh, well, you might not have worked out at your last job, but if you're an all-star, with all the nice people and
we'll train
the support, we'll train you, you'll be excellent. And then it's like, no, that was bad.
Everyone's like, ugh.
Yeah, why did you hire that person? So I am just I realized that about myself again, being, selfish and lazy and all those things, saying, okay, yeah, no, I'm not good at this. I can probably give you a read, a first impression on someone, a client will like that person. Kind of a thing. I help them develop the hiring process. So we are large enough now that we have departments. And so we have a leadership team, and then the leadership team does all the hiring. So
for their individual kind of areas,
along with the practice manager.
Okay.
So the head of surgery would hire for their department with then the practice manager as well. So we'll get a resume, say for instance, but we used an HR service called Bamboo, and it was great because we would put an ad out and then it would go out to all the different online sources, and then we would get all of it and it would filter through Bamboo, and then we would call people, set up a phone interview first, then it's a job shadow, and then it is a peer interview. So they come in and they're interviewed with usually three peers, and it's usually somebody from the department and then the lead and then some other random person from the clinic, just to give, there's people within the clinic that are good at asking questions and then kind of deciphering
and feeling people out. Yeah. I there's people with that sense of who will fit in and who won't. With the phone interview. So I have a lot of people that kind of skip that step, other than to say hey, when do you want to come in? It's such a waste of time, in my opinion, because then the person comes and visits and they do whatever. And then you say, oh, well, this is the hours we're thinking. This is the salary. And you're so far apart that you literally wasted all this time interviewing them. So I like a phone interview to just hammer out those very black and white issues of what do you want to get paid? What hours do you want to work? What days? And if they come back with something that you can never meet them halfway, it's like, don't even have an interview in person. Yep.
And so we have a form that gets filled out.
Okay.
So like I could always go and be like, what, like, so I'll see somebody on paper and I'll be like, why didn't we hire that person? Like, we're looking for a veterinary assistant. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, well, here's why. And it's like, they can't work till 6. Okay, never mind. And so I would have hired them because I liked them, you know, kind of a thing. And so, we have forms for each of those steps of the interview process.
I love you said that you remove yourself from that process. We just had lunch with Peter yesterday and he said the same thing that once he kind of pulled himself away from the hiring process, he got more buy-in from the team. So it wasn't you hired this person, they're terrible, you deal with it. It's, they've got buy-in now that this is somebody I hired. We've got to figure out a way to make it work and it's a good fit.
Yeah. I am still a little bit a part of the process, but I definitely don't make the final decisions. And my big thing is in-person working interviews. Like I will never hire somebody I don't know or have worked with in person because I think you have to see how they vibe with everybody. You have to see, are they willing to clean up when the things are done? Are they on their phone the whole time? Are they there's just very simple things for me with like respect and courtesy and how you talk to people that matter. And you can't get that from an interview. So I will pay for someone to fly in. I will put them up in a hotel even. Like we hired someone from Colorado, paid for all that just because I need to see you in person.
Right.
And then that sense of it's going to work or not kicks in.
I think that for me, the best interviews are the internships. You know what I mean? Like where you have a technician who's from IBC or a technician college and they come in, they do their internship and you're like, okay, yeah, this is great. It's a working interview for.
Yeah. Well, I have all these veterinarians that'll tell me like, I can't hire. And I'm like, okay, well, what are you doing I put an ad on AV Mate. Okay. But like, what else are you doing?
Right.
And they're like, I'm like, do you visit vet schools? Well, no. Well, do you have the tech schools, training? No.
Do you work with high school No.
No. Do you have a social media? No. How are people going to know that you're hiring?
Yeah.
Like in the world we're in now with all the data that's out there, if you're not hitting all these areas, you're not going to find the right people. And so it's crazy, man. I'm like, well, that's shocking. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I know. I can't really help you. Yeah.
I can't. If you can't help yourself, I can't help you. So, okay. A couple other things I want to hit on before we are done. One of the big things is you did sell your practice.
I did
recently. And I wouldn't say you're retired because
I'm not. Yeah, exactly.
So walk me through a little bit like that decision
and how long did you own the practice before you considered selling it?
Let's see. This will be 2024 will be 21 years.
Okay.
So we sold it. This coming October will be the 3rd year. Okay. So
around 20 years, 19
18 years. Yeah. Something like that.
And you started the practice from scratch?
Yes. It was just hung a shingle.
Love it.
Yeah.
And how big was it when you sold? Like how many veterinarians and
9 veterinarians.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's like goals. Shane's like, okay.
Yeah. Hey man, we live by the philosophy, happy people find happy places to work.
Love that.
And so I heard that way back in the day when we first opened the clinic, and that was just became a main, just create a place people want to work. And so I think that the financial landscape, it was, I feel like businesses have an arc, right? So, and I think we were at the top of the arc, and I think it would have been selfish to not sell it. It's something that you build from the very beginning. And so it's really hard to let go of it. And it would have been nice not to, just because then I don't have to work for somebody else. And I don't have, it's still mine and mine, but it would not have been in the best interest of my employees.
Yeah.
Because they are paid a much larger wage than what I was paying them. They have PTO that's much better than what I was giving them. They have 401k. They have health insurance. And the practice was at a certain size that it was going to be very difficult to be able to give them those things and still maintain numbers, right? Because I had Richie on the other side of the fence going, the percentages aren't lining up, so you have to have all that going on. And so the writing was on the wall, like, hey, listen, this is something that we really need to think about with what was happening in our industry.
Well, it's also too big to sell to another veterinarian. Yeah. And so, like maybe a group could come together of private associates, but that is very hard to navigate also. So when you get to a certain size, it's almost like you do get too big to sell to another individual owner.
And were y'all approached to sell, or did y'all kind of package it up and start working towards? No,
we were approached by it. And that was when like things were like,
it's going hot. Yeah.
I mean, people were calling you left and right. And, we picked 3 companies, and then we went to our leadership group and said, here's what we're thinking. What do you guys want to see happen when we do this? And these are the 3 companies, and you'll help interview them with us. And so then they were in on all those interviews.
But was the initial reaction, like, were they nervous? Like, was your team a little scared? And like being transparent, were you able to kind of talk through that? Or was everyone kind of like, okay, if we're a part of the process?
I think because of how we ran the practice, I never gave them a reason to not trust me. And so when it came to this, that's what I heard them say is, you've never given us a reason to not trust you. So we trust you. And so then the people that weren't involved in the interviews were just like, cool, like just keep us in the loop, like what's going to happen, who it is, and, all that kind of stuff. And so it was a really good experience.
Which is not what you hear all the time. And you also hear a lot of people not ever telling their employees.
Oh, that's, and I get why the corporations want to do that. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're making it twice as hard. Like, people should know before they know that. I mean, like, I can't imagine like being like, I walk in the clinic today and be like, all right, I sold to SVP.
Yeah.
That's your new boss now.
Yeah.
How you feel about that? Like, I mean, it would have made everything that we had done historically be fake. And that's just not, like, I see these people every day. Like, I'm going to stay at the practice. I'm going to see them every day. I can't imagine that look on their face. Every decision that we made was always in the best interest of the business. So this one was too. And I think that's what they saw. So we didn't have nobody left, nobody.
And I asked you earlier, like the transition, do you feel like pet owners knew that you sold, and you said like, they didn't even know I owned it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think the goal was that the transition should be such that nobody would even know. There shouldn't, because I went with SVP, and they don't change your brand. They don't do anything. So there's no reason a client would know.
And did they acquire the practice and the real estate, or did y'all own the real estate?
No, we did not. We just lease. We have like, how many square feet now?
I was going to say, how do y'all do that with that
10,000 square feet?
Oh, wow.
9,000 square feet. It's 10, something like that.
Wow. And over time, you just kind of accumulate more square footage in the same area? Wow.
Yeah. So it's a kind of like an L-shaped building. So we just kept saying, when they don't renew their lease, can we have that when they don't renew their lease? Kind of a thing. So we just kept expanding this direction.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, and SVP's been, the thing with the clinic, the way we ran the clinic, and because we were so focused on learning leadership and making decisions and, being timely as one of our core values, I mean, we're rocking, you know what I mean? And so then anytime you introduce layers, you introduce complexity, and with complexity, growth stalls or decision-making stalls. And that's where my leadership team felt the most frustration was, oh my God, can they just give us an answer? Not that they wouldn't give you the answer you wanted. It was just waiting.
Yes.
And so now that they've gotten used to that, I think that is, they're over
and
that.
You already had a strong leadership team like at the practice. And I think that makes a difference too on, whether you can kind of continue that, or if a completely new leadership team comes on board, that's a big part of it. And I'm a big believer in there's no like perfect corporation.
Correct.
There's no perfect private practice. Like until there's perfect one or the other, I'm never going to say like everyone has to do this, everyone has to do that. This is evil. This is perfect. So I'm happy to hear of stories like yours. And I hear these stories. It's just some of the other stories are the ones that are out there.
Well, because, when all this was going on, these corporations, some of them smaller ones, are just gobbling up all these practices, right? They don't have any of the backside built out to support any of these practices.
Yeah.
And so then, and that's where you end up with, people being disappointed because it's falling apart. Now the practice owner wants to skedaddle because, they're done. They're however old they are. And they're like, okay, this was my exit. And, and so then it just kind of just crumbles around them. And I think that SVP has done a lot of good things and, are running their company very, very well, and they're running it very efficiently. They keep the employees number one, and their clients, meaning the pet owners also. And so I think their focus is on the right things. Are they the fastest at making decisions? Are we frustrated at times? Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's not me doing it, which is, I wanted,
the control has been given up.
Yeah.
Do you think though, did you build your practice where you could be gone tomorrow?
Correct.
And it would
That's
still
how it should be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
So what I did was I knew that was going to be the writing on the wall at some point, right? Because again, the evolution of the business. So the company has to be able to run without me there.
Mm-hmm.
The success of the company really is, when you're not there, what is everybody doing when you're not there, kind of a thing. And so I started inching myself out of a veterinarian role, and then I'm just basically a facilitator, or, I teach and mentor, the veterinarians coming in. And so when we sold the practice, then it wasn't like I don't need to practice medicine per se. I do come off the bench and people are on vacation, and so then I do veterinary medicine and things like that. But so it was designed for that purpose.
Did y'all ever consider new locations, or is it always just we'll just add another veterinarian?
Right. Yeah.
And just keep going?
All the veterinarians. So we would often talk about that as a group because we have doctor meetings every Monday, and it would come up like, do we want to do a satellite? And they all like working together. They don't want to be separated. I do think it fragments your focus and your resources, a little bit. And so you add bloat, and so, but it was something that we definitely seriously considered. But then I was like, where am I going to spend my time?
Yeah.
People want me here, but then, they want me over there, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And so then I was like, that's too much to think about.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm just going to hoard veterinarians here
just keep
at 789 East Main Street, Westfield, Indiana. Yeah.
I love it. So if people want to learn more from you, because I feel like you've already dropped like a ton of like good little nuggets, like Shane's like, can I just ask you a million more questions? But if they want to learn more, you now have set up like your own account to kind of spread information, to share things. What is the focus of that going to be?
Yeah, I think really practice ownership. I think that's something that I learned a lot about over the past 23 years, how to grow people, and then how to, keep people having fun, and keep it interesting, and, adding enthusiasm back into our industry, which I think is just
lacking.
Yeah, it really, I feel bad for people because it is a fun job. It's just that the way they have their processes set up right now, it's not very much fun.
Well, and we had dinner the other night, and I think both of us were like nerding out on just veterinary medicine and ownership. And so for me, it's nice to connect with people and just bounce questions off of them, and,
likewise,
be able to share. And I feel like you're the type that's like, bring me the questions. Let's talk about things.
Oh, I love the questions. Yeah.
And learning from one another. So definitely follow Dr. Emily King on social media if you want to know more about practice ownership, veterinary medicine. Follow All-Star if you want to see an amazing veterinary hospital.
Be
culture.
entertained.
Yeah, be entertained. There you go.
I like laugh all the time. And then follow King Media if you want to connect with somebody for veterinary resources, production, social media help. Harrison has helped us immensely with this podcast, and we are so glad that we found the whole King family.
Well, thank you.
So,
we're glad we found you too.
Do you have any last things that you want to leave everybody with, like last tips, tricks, take home message?
Oh gosh,
you're used to hosting. This is it.
Take home message. I'm out the pressure. No, I would just say, be your real selves, and you have a lot to offer. Everybody in your community, cherishes everything that you do every day. And so I think just remember that you're doing good, your people love what you're doing, and it's really important.
Yeah.
And that human animal bond that you're continuing to protect and develop over time is of such value to people that sometimes they don't even know, but it's something that should be cherished, and you're doing a great job. Just keep at it.
So. I'd love the inspirational message. So good. All right.
We need that for our Dallas Cowboys. I'm just saying.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to Questions with Crocker. If you want to leave a review on Apple or Spotify, you can definitely do that. We love feedback. We need questions. That's how this podcast works. So make sure to reach out to us. And if you have any follow-up, you can connect with Dr. Emily King over on social media.
Watch us on YouTube.
Yeah. Thanks and have a good day.